Good evening, Nada Gilmore with ABC News. If not now, when? That was the Prime Minister's declaration today as he revealed the question he wants the nation to answer in its first referendum in 23 years. It'll be a simple yes or no. Do you support an alteration to the Constitution that establishes an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice? Let's bring in our presenter Dan Borscher, who's participating in the Garma festival in northeast Arnhem Land. Dan, what was the reaction to the Prime Minister's announcement of a referendum on an Indigenous voice?
Nada, Yuma, good evening from here on these sacred lands of Yulnu in Arnhem Land. Well, the reaction was swift from the details emerging this morning ahead of the Prime Minister's speech of just what would be entailed in the Prime Minister's address to the nation. The reaction was one of some anticipation, a lot of excitement, and also of consideration of the future. Of course, that's been also tinged somewhat with a sense of history and the fact that there have been so many opportunities in the past where there have been these grand gestures about change in our nation that haven't come to fruition. But I was speaking to one Yulngu elder just a little while ago, and she was telling me that she felt today like there was a sense of waterways rising up through the land, that the soil in the red deserts in the middle of our country that are often considered to be dry and deserted, well, this was going to be an opportunity for there to be water sprouting. And it was a powerful, powerful analogy about regrowth, about rebirth, about coming together. That's exactly what our colleague Ella Archibald Binge found today.
On a remote patch of land on Yolngu country, history is being made.
I believe the momentum is with us as never before.
The government seizing that momentum to reveal the referendum question.
A simple principle, a question from the heart.
The phrasing of the question is likely to be central to the vote's success. Just 8 out of 44 referenda in Australia have been carried.
I believe this country is ready for this reform. If not now, when?
The proposed changes come down to 3 sentences to be added to the nation's founding document. 1, there shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. 2, that voice may make representations to Parliament and the executive government on matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. And 3, the Parliament shall have power to make laws with respect to the composition, functions, powers and procedures of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice.
That's how progress works in Indigenous affairs in this country. It's one small step after the other. Today was a really important step.
But there are still plenty of challenges ahead, and the first may be winning bipartisan support.
Well, I think this has been a positive step today in him putting forward some words in terms of constitutional amendment. I think the next step has to be to explain to Australians how the voice will actually work.
Most crucially, the government will need to convince the Australian people, including sections of the Indigenous community who want to prioritise a treaty.
There are things that I'd like to discuss with the government also, and they are things that will change people's lives, Aboriginal people's lives, before any referendum.
And those who say the process won't deliver tangible change on pressing issues.
Australia does not have to choose between improving people's lives and amending the Constitution. We can do both, and we have to.
There's been much discussion about what an Indigenous voice might look like and how it might function. A local model here on Yolngu country might provide some clues. It's called the Dillac Council and is comprised of representatives from 13 clan groups who make decisions on behalf of their communities.
That model across 13 clan group leadership at a senior level has already contributed to what is possible through the voice.
For the Yolngu people, today brings them a small step closer to something they've been fighting for since 1963, a say in decisions that affect their people.
The constitution of this country has been wrong from the very beginning. It will never be legitimate without agreement of the First Nations people.
The voice of the Australian people will create a voice to Parliament.
Putting words into action. Ella Archibald-Binge, ABC News, Gulkula.
We're joined again now by Dan Borscher. Dan, there have been many promises made in the past, but few have come to fruition. Is there a feeling that this time change might actually happen?
Well, that's certainly the hope, Nada, and you got the sense today from the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander leaders I was speaking with that there's a great sense of anticipation, of looking to the future, but also being very conscious of what's happened in the past, and that includes, of course, where Prime Ministers have either dismissed this kind of a process or have said that there would be a treaty that simply didn't materialise. So the challenge now is, as it was put to me, becomes one of leadership for the Prime Minister and the government, not just to deliver on that invitation of the Uluru Statement of the Heart, a gift to the nation, but also to bring Australians together and to create opportunities where all Australians can be a part of this conversation. The Prime Minister said he would be leaning into this with hope and humility after what have been, in his words, decades of mishaps, of mistakes, of false starts, and you get the sense that it's going to take that kind of leaning in from all Australians to achieve what is ultimately an enormous task of changing the Australian Constitution, Nada.
Dan Borscher reporting from the Garma Festival. Thank you.